Good afternoon to you, and thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. The show is Diaspora Dispatches, and it is about a minute past 3 p.m. here in Nairobi, East African time. Good morning, good evening, depending on where you're tuned in and watching us from. On the show this afternoon, I get to bring you the latest news from across the continent of Africa. We start with some news from South Africa, where South Africa's health department has launched an investigation into comments made by a provincial health minister to a Zimbabwean patient undergoing treatment. In a widely circulated video clip, Dr. Poppy Ramatuba is seen chastising a reportedly undocumented Zimbabwean patient scheduled for surgery at a hospital in South Africa's Limpopo province. Her comments have been viewed as blaming foreign nationals for the country's ailing healthcare. Dr. Ramatuba told the patient that Zimbabwe should take responsibility for her health issues and not South Africa. She added that Zimbabwe's President Emmerson Mnangagwa did not contribute to South Africa's health budget. Opposition political parties are demanding the official resignation and said she should be reprimanded for humiliating the patient. However, Dr. Ramatuba has said she stands by her comments, adding that the Limpopo province, which is at the border with Zimbabwe, has an influx of foreign nationals who are choking the province's health system, resulting in doctors often working under pressure. We head over to Ghana, and shop owners in the country are threatening to close their business premises next Monday to protest against the weakening of the country's currency. The 10 cherished the US dollar traders are finding it difficult to stay in business as the cost of importing and clearing goods continues to rise. Prices for the most basic goods and services have doubled over the last couple of months in Ghana, but incomes for the most part. In solidarity with the planned demonstrations, the Ghana Institute of Freight Forwarders, an umbrella body for clearing agents, says it will also cease operations on Monday. Inflation in Ghana now stands at over 31%, the highest in the last 20 years. The government has pointed the blame at the COVID-19 pandemic and the recent Russia-Ukraine war. The United Nations World Food Programme WFP has said Tigrayan forces in the northern Ethiopia have looted 1 million litres of fuel from its warehouses in Tigray's capital Mekelle, and that was meant to be used to deliver aid. Tigrayan forces have not responded to the accusations, which come after fresh fighting broke out on Wednesday for the first time in several months. The United Nations and the US have urged Ethiopian troops and the Tigrayan forces to restore a humanitarian truce. UN Chief Antonio Guterres said he was shocked by the insurgents in fighting, while the U.S. expressed concern that renewed clashes could jeopardize progress made over the past 5 months. The chair of the African Union Commission, Musa Faki Mohammed, has also called for the immediate cessation of hostilities and urged the warring sides to resume talks. And then we head over to Nigeria. The U.S. has hailed Deborah Samuel, a Christian second-year student killed in northern Nigerian city of Sokoto in May for alleged blasphemy. A mob of classmates beat her to death after accusing her of insulting Islam in a voice note she had shared on WhatsApp. Samuel was recognized on Monday during the marking of the International Day commemorating the victims of violence based on religion or belief. The killing sparked a social media storm between some Muslims and Christians in the country, with each side accusing the other of intolerance and extremism. A peaceful protest in Sokoto turned violent, with demands for the release of the suspected killers. The state government imposed a 24-hour curfew to regain peace in the state. The U.S. has sent its first ambassador to Sudan in 25 years, 2 years after it removed it from the list of countries that sponsor terrorism. Ambassador John Godfrey arrived in the capital Khartoum on Wednesday and tweeted that he was delighted to be there and looked forward to supporting the Sudanese people's transition to democracy. Sudan was added to the list of countries that sponsor terrorism in 1993 after accusations that it supported Al-Qaeda, whose founder Osama bin Laden lived in Sudan from 1992 to 1996. In 1997, the U.S. downgraded representation in Sudan from ambassador to the level of charge d'affaires and imposed economic sanctions. The U.S. announced plans to upgrade the representation in 2019, and the following year appointed an ambassador, and of course under the 44th president, Donald Trump. And then we head over to Angola. Angola's Electoral Commission says the governing MPLA has registered a strong lead after early results on Wednesday's presidential and parliamentary elections. The commission said that with a third of ballots counted, President João Lourenço's party has received more than 60% of the votes. The rebel-turned-opposition movement UNITA has nearly 34%. UNITA has called the provisional results unreliable. MPLA, which has been in power for more than 4 decades, has been criticized for not tackling inflation, poverty, unemployment despite huge oil wealth. We head back to Nigeria, and the chairman of the National Broadcasting Commission, NBC, has suspended media houses in Nigeria. 2 organizations filed a complaint on Wednesday in Nigeria targeting both the National Broadcasting Commission and President Muhammadu Buhari to prevent the closure of more than 50 radio stations and television channels in the country. The announced suspension of 53 radio and television stations has provoked a storm of reactions in Nigeria. The chairman of the National Broadcasting Commission, however, insists that this measure has nothing political. At a press conference in Abuja last Friday, he explained that the broadcasters concerned had not renewed their licenses in time. He said they owned more than 6 million euros in total. He gave them 24 hours to pay up or stop broadcasting. Faced with heavy criticism, the National Broadcasting Commission finally decided to give more time to the media concerned, which are still broadcasting for the time being. And then we head back to Sudan, and the International Criminal Court's chief prosecutor said Sudan had promised its full cooperation in the war crimes probe for atrocities committed in the Darfur region under ousted President Omar al-Bashir. Karim Khan spoke after meeting Army Chief Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, who seized power last year in a coup. Burhan, who was a senior general under Bashir, has promised his full cooperation and commitment to justice for the people in Darfur. Khan added as he wrapped up his trip, Bashir, 78, has been in custody in Khartoum since 2019 ouster and has been wanted by the ICC for more than a decade over charges of genocide, war crimes, and crimes against humanities in Darfur. 2 other former aides are also wanted by the Hague-based court to face more crime charges. We go to South Sudan, and President Salva Kiir has invited his Ugandan and Ethiopian counterparts Yoweri Museveni and Dr. Abiy Ahmed to attend the graduation ceremony of Unified Forces scheduled for next week. The invitation to Museveni was delivered by South Sudan's Minister of Presidential Affairs, Dr. Barnaba Mariam Benjamin, in Kampala, Uganda. The unity government is now optimistic that it will not fail to graduate the first batch of Unified Forces in the scheduled August 30th date. Addressing the press upon his return, Dr. Mariel said, President Museveni assured that the possibility of his attendance is imminent. The graduation and deployment of the Unified Forces has been postponed many times in the last 3 years due to what has been termed as lack of political will and insufficient funding, among others. However, the peace parties have apparently hastened the implementation process after availing a roadmap on the timeline and extending the transitional period by 2 more years. This week, a joint security mechanism visited the unified officers trained in Rajaf, a training site at the southern suburb of Juba, and Gorom Training Center, 30 miles west of the capital, Juba. And then we go to Rwanda, and Rwanda's President Paul Kagame will today begin a 4-day in-person citizen outreach program in the western and southern provinces, the first in 3 years and the second in his 3rd term. During the tour that runs until Sunday in the districts of Ruhango, Nyamasheke, Nyamagambe, and Karonge, Kagame is expected to have interactions with ordinary citizens, mainly focused on local government services delivery. He will also hold closed-door sessions with opinion leaders. The tour comes at a time when the country is grappling with the prolonged negative impact of the coronavirus pandemic on the economy, including reversing pains in poverty reductions. And that is what we have from the continent of Africa. You are now up to date. Of course, a couple of news items here have stood out to me. First of all, what President Kagame is doing, I think it's very commendable. It's quite commendable usually, and I think these in-person citizen outreach program was suspended due to COVID-19, so he's just resumed having this. So this is an outreach where President Kagame is able to be around and to talk to the ordinary Rwandese and just get a feedback on how his government. I don't know how these feedbacks are, because as we all know, anybody you talk to from Rwanda, he's quite feared. So I'm sure if he's going to meet, it's a wonderful thing, I believe. I just don't know if the Rwandese who get to meet and talk to their president actually can express whatever it is they want to say freely, or even criticize the government freely, because we know what happens when you criticize the government in Rwanda. But nevertheless, I think the initiative is quite commendable because President Kagame, assuming he gets an honest feedback from his people, is able to really gauge how well, the government is in tune with its people, and the service delivery, how is it being received? Is it impactful? Is there something that the government can work on? I think it's great if it's done in a way that the citizens are able to freely speak their mind, criticize if necessary, give some opinion which might be helpful in making things better. But I think overall, this is a good initiative that I want to believe we can, borrow from across the continent of Africa. Because the problem that we have, and we've seen that play out in a lot of African countries, is the level of disconnect you get to see between the government and its people. When you hear President Buhari commending his government and how well he has taken care of the security in the country, for instance, you sit down and you wonder, what are you talking about? Because that is not the truth, okay? Or when you see other leaders taking credit on something that is not even working right in their country. And so a lot of times you see the leadership in Africa and the people are quite disconnected. And the only time they get to go back to the people is when they are seeking for another mandate, when they're asking and looking for their votes. That is the only time. But after that, they are nowhere to be found and they don't care what happens. So I think this is a very good initiative, and that goes to show how much President Paul Kagame truly is in tune with his people and perhaps the things that his agenda and how that is working for his people. That is, if at all, that program, that platform is based on honesty and truth and openness without any fear of getting reprimanded after you've said what you need to say there. But it's a good initiative. Another good initiative, a rather good progress that I'd like to commend, half-heartedly, I must add, with caution or even, is the progress I see in South Sudan. And President Salva Kiir has invited Ugandan President Yoweri Museveni and Ethiopian Prime Minister Dr. Abiy Ahmed to the graduation ceremony of Unified Forces. I think this is something that is worth clapping for. Now, this is scheduled for next week. So I'm thinking, because there has been such, dates set before that did not materialize. But I think for President Salva Kiir to go ahead and invite these other dignitaries and these other heads of state, that means that truly there will be a graduation ceremony slated for, I think, the 30th of August next week there in Juba in South Sudan. This has been a long time coming, and this is one of the key things that holds the pillar of the revitalized peace agreement of 2018, and that was a requirement to bring soldiers and draw them from every corner and from every affiliation in South Sudan and bring them together and train them and make them a unified force. They were supposed to have graduated a couple of years ago, maybe 1-2 years ago, but that has not been the case because there has been a bit of problems, and that has to do with the funding, of course. But I think the key problem, and this is my own personal opinion, and you can correct me, that has been hindering this progress is political will. There's not been enough political will in the leadership of South Sudan to actually want to hasten the progress of the implementation of these very key aspects of the revitalized peace agreement of 2018. And remember, they just postponed the elections one more time. Elections were supposed to happen this year. They're pushed to next year. Now they've been pushed 2 years, later in 2024, I believe, in December. That is when they're planning to have the elections. I'm just crossing my fingers so that when we get to next year, they don't get to postpone again. Remember, the elections for this year were postponed earlier, I think last year. Is it last year, 2019 or 2020, And so they have the leadership, from my observation, and as I said, this is just my personal opinion, from what I've been observing or what I think is happening, is that they continue to create an atmosphere that will not encourage any progress, that will make sure the country and the people of South Sudan continue to just mark time. They're just going round and round, and they look like they're moving, but they're not really making progress. There's a difference between movement and progress. If the movement is not launching you forward, then you're just marking time. And that is what we've been seeing happening in South Sudan. But I am happy. I mean, I can take any little progress coming from South Sudan at this point. And graduation of this unified force, I think, is something to be commended. As I said, I'm taking it with quite optimistic, but cautiously optimistic. And so I am just praying that this is the case. In the meantime, I will be here on 30th, and we shall see what that will be. And of course, as I said, President Museveni has been invited, Dr. Abiy Ahmed, and I'm sure perhaps others have been invited. Maybe even my outgoing president, President Uhuru Kenyatta, has been invited. Remember, Kenya has been very integral as far as that peace process in South Sudan is concerned. And so maybe they will invite the outgoing president, since by 30th we will not have the court. I think that is when now the case will start at the Supreme Court, challenging the election of President-elect Dr. William Ruto. So I think we don't have so he can't come to South Sudan, but I'm sure probably the outgoing President Uhuru Kenyatta might be, maybe he was invited, maybe not. I don't know, but that is that there. Okay, so, all right. Still staying with the Sudan, only this time I want us to look at Sudan itself. That was South Sudan. And the International Criminal Court chief prosecutor has been in Sudan for a couple of days now. And he has said that the military leadership in South Sudan has promised its full cooperation. And Karim Khan actually believed this, that actually the military in South Sudan is going to cooperate with his office when they will be probing the atrocities committed in the Darfur region under the ousted President Omar al-Bashir. Karim Khan actually believed that the military will fully cooperate. Really? I don't see this happening, and I'll tell you why. The military leader who is now in control in South Sudan, Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, are still working so hard to protect the former president Omar al-Bashir. Fine, we know that Omar al-Bashir is in custody, and since he was ousted in 2019, but we also know that the current leader, who Karim Khan, the ICC chief prosecutor, is hoping will cooperate with him, has been working and for a long time was working under the government of the ousted leader, Omar al-Bashir. And as much as these atrocities happened in Darfur, which they did, I don't think President Omar al-Bashir personally took a gun and went shooting at and killing people. It is these generals that gave orders These generals who are now in power. And Abdel Fattah al-Burhan is one of those generals who have been working under Omar al-Bashir. So if for 1 minute, Karim Khan, you actually think that they will fully cooperate with your office to try to bring to book former president who I don't think he'll be handed over to the ICC. I don't think they will agree with that. And for Omar al-Bashir, he has nothing to lose right now. So if he goes there and he's testifying or whatever, I'm telling you, he will name names. And the people he will be naming are the same generals who are in power right now in Sudan. So this full cooperation, I don't think so. That will not happen. I don't see how they will fully cooperate to take themselves to jail because they might be mentioned. The second in command of the military, Hemedi, I think that is his nickname. I'm forgetting his other actual name. He is the leader of, now they call it Sudan's Rapid Force, but it is the Janjaweed, which was very instrumental as far as committing those atrocities was concerned. And you want him to cooperate with you to take him to ICC? I don't think so. So Karim Khan, this is a pipe dream. Whatever you're going to get from South Sudan, even as you try to collect your evidence, not from South Sudan, but Sudan, I'm telling you, you're going to have a hard time. And you know what? I'll be curious. I'll be sitting here following this story and see how the generals in Sudan get to cooperate with Karim Khan, the chief prosecutor of the International Criminal Court. They will not. I promise you, they will not. They will not. And if they do, I will take back my words and eat them back. Okay, and I'll be here to report about it. Okay, so anyway, U.S. now, you can see how things are working because now the U.S. is sending its first ambassador to Sudan after 25 years. Sudan was put under the blacklist and under the countries and countries that support terrorism, and this is because the leader of Al-Qaeda, the founder, the leader of Al-Qaeda, Osama bin Laden, was hiding in Sudan in the early 90s. So after they discovered, and then those bombings that happened in Nairobi and Dar es Salaam simultaneously, I think in 1998, is it 97 or 98? And so things changed since then. So Al-Qaeda, Sudan was under this list of countries that supported terrorism, but in 2019, that was lifted. I think just is it in 2019 or 2020? But the condition was Sudan to pay the victims of the bombings. One of the conditions in Nairobi and in Dar es Salaam. Sudan is very broke right now, so it cannot afford. It was in tunes of millions of dollars, so it really can't afford to pay and to the people who were affected by that terrorism attack. But you can see now as the U.S. is coming back, and now you see the ICC also has been is trying to start its investigation in Sudan. Yeah. I'll be watching to see how this will play out in the long run. Okay, so Angolans went to the elections yesterday. Not yet. On the 24th, yes. And the early results are showing. That was yesterday. Early results are showing that president's party, the sitting president João Lourenço, his party seems to have gathered more votes at 60%. So they're electing the president and parliament as well, the members of parliament. But these are very early results. So tomorrow you might see exactly where these numbers are sitting at. And all right, this video that has caused a lot of problems online from this doctor in South Africa, and she was caught on video lamenting and really chastising a patient who was awaiting who was scheduled for a surgery at a hospital in South Africa's Limpopo province, which borders Zimbabwe. And so she was really making a lot of noise. And in her comments, she's blaming Zimbabwe's government for not doing all it can to ensure that its people do not come to South Africa to get treatment. We know Zimbabwe really, economy and all the institutions there, they just ran down. They're in really bad state, and South Africa has been the place where they even get even the basic of medications. In South Africa, Zimbabwe is going through and has been going through really some tough times. So this doctor, Dr. Ramatuba, told the patient that Zimbabwe should take responsibility for her health issues and not South Africa. She added that Zimbabwe's President Emmerson Mnangagwa did not contribute to South Africa's health budget. And as much as that is true, but come on now, everyone knows what is happening in Zimbabwe. You know, things are really, really tough there. So her taking out her frustration on the patient, I think that is wrong. And the oath that they take to, as doctors, I don't think that is just overboard. That was unnecessary. I think there are channels if you want to complain, and maybe this hospital has been overwhelmed because being that it is on the border between Zimbabwe and South Africa, so there is a possibility of a high influx of Zimbabweans coming into that hospital and getting treated. But I'm sure there are proper procedures. If you want to complain, you want to raise issues, that will be a policy issues. That will be a government-to-government thing. So for her to come out and rant in this way, and this is a patient that is being scheduled for a surgery, I don't think that was necessary. And of course, opposition political parties are demanding the official resignation and said she should be reprimanded for humiliating the patient. See, EFF, Julius Malema, this is what you should be busy with, not Kenya. This is what you should be helping with. This is what you should be making noise about. Leave Kenya alone. Kenya with our democracy, which you don't even understand, we know how to navigate that. We know how to do whatever we do here according to our constitution, which you're not even familiar with from the tweets that you've been making, okay? Because for the opposition, the person who lost the election to go to court and challenge the results of that is part of our constitution, and then whatever court decides, that will be it. So nobody has broken the law as far as that is concerned. But these are the things that are happening in South Africa, Julius Malema, that you should be concerning yourself about. And so they're calling for this doctor to resign. First of all, I don't think she should resign. I know it's controversial. I can understand the frustration, but as I said, solutions to this is beyond her as a doctor. So I think the manner in which she went about it is off. She should have talked to the authorities. This is a concern they would have brought. They see, how do we even manage the border? How does the government of South Africa and Zimbabwe work together to ensure, it does not come to that? And so, but the doctor stands by her comments, adding that the Limpopo province, which is on the border with Zimbabwe, as I said there, has an influx of foreign nationals who are choking the province's health system, resulting in doctors often working under pressure. So I can understand her frustrations. However, the way she went about it is just wrong. Should she be propelled, to resign? I don't think she should resign, but should she apologize? Absolutely. Zimbabweans, I don't think there's anybody who wants to go to a certain place where they're not even wanted willingly. They are forced because of the conditions they're going through in their country. And that is where we should be a brother's keeper. Okay, fine. I know in South Africa they've not been that, from the cases that we've seen from that country of xenophobia, and they know nothing about their brother's keeper. Matter of fact, they have a problem with anybody from another country and that has a skin, complexion like they have. They don't have a problem with the Indians. They don't have a problem with the white people who are there. They don't have a problem with anybody else coming up and putting up business in South Africa, but they do have a particular problem with their African brothers and sisters who go there to set up business, to work there, to live there, to look for opportunities. They have a problem with that. And so maybe I'm asking for too much for this doctor to be their brother's keeper, keeper. But I think this is just a policy matter, and I don't know what President Mnangagwa feels because this doctor said that Zimbabwe's president Emerson did not contribute to South Africa's health budget. He does not, and that is the truth. However, what does the patient has to do with it, Dr. Ramatuba? You are wrong on that. You are wrong on that. If you are frustrated, which I'm sure you are, I think there are proper ways of venting. There are proper offices to knock. There are proper channels of talking about and expressing how you feel without victimizing somebody who has already gone so much and who is there maybe not out of their own will. They're forced to be there because, you'd rather they die than seek medical attention from South Africa, or what are you talking about? So that is that. There has been renewed fighting in Tigray region, which is worrying. There had been a ceasefire for about 5 months now, but fighting seems to have resumed there. So that is a situation that is worrying. And the UN World Food Programme, WFP, has said Tigrayan forces in northern Ethiopia have looted 1 million liters of fuel from its warehouses in Tigray's capital, Mekelle, that was meant to be used to deliver aid. Okay, so this aid was going to them. So it's a very dicey situation. And of course, there has been a renewed and a resurgence in fighting. And the US has, of course, expressed concern that renewed clashes could jeopardize progress that have been made over the past couple of months. I want to thank you so much for your time this afternoon. This has been Diaspora Dispatches. My name is Miriam Ogutu. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye-bye.